for saying that I'll not attend the family Christmas since I can't afford it. My family has always spent the Christmas together at our parents'. Last year was the first year that we spent it at my brother's and his wife's. Due to it being their first time, they were understandably very stressed and had troubles getting things together, especially taking into account my dietary restrictions. Last year, I, female 20s, didn't live in the same city as them, so I couldn't really help with the preparations, but this year I do. Since I'm a student, the money is tight, but my brother and sister-in-law earn extremely well, even compared to our parents. We didn't have to contribute financially to the feast when we spent Christmas at our parents' house, but this year the cost is shared by our parents and them. As I can't afford it, my compensation is the organization and cooking of the feast, as none of them enjoy such things. This is not a small task, since I'll have to start the preparations days before Christmas and do everything on my own. However, because I'm not paying for the meal, I shared my plans with all of them weeks ago, and they all agreed on the menu. A couple of days ago, I sat down and calculated how much all of this will cost and sent info to my family. This did not go down well with my brother. He is extremely frugal, which is fine and all, but the cost of the feast is the same as it has been every year. To be sure, it is nothing out of the ordinary, but it costs more than a regular meal. I said fine, we can cut something back if he wants, and I asked what he wanted to give up. He chose the one thing that I wanted to make for myself as a treat, since almost everything else is something that I can't eat, but the rest of them can eat all of it. I said okay to anything else, but he didn't want to give up anything else. I then asked him if he was serious that my dish would be the only one that we would get rid of, and not one of their multiple sides. I don't want to eat only potatoes and salad. His response was that it's all so expensive, and since it's something that most of us wouldn't eat, it didn't make sense to make it. My brother pulled the same move last year, and my mother put her foot down and forced my brother to include me. Since then, he has constantly told us how we are so emotional and stir up unnecessary drama. So, to his opinion, I said that it's fine. I'll just not attend and spend the Christmas by myself, since I can't afford to pay for the dish since I already provide my main. My brother got mad and said that's not what he meant. I replied that this would be the most elegant solution to the problem, since the feast would be cheaper and I wouldn't have to work so hard for a meal that I can't eat, and this would have the added bonus of not causing too much drama since I would do so voluntarily. I know I'm probably an asshole just for this. He got super mad at me, while my mother got mad at him and decided to spend Christmas at my place. Now everyone is mad at everyone, but honestly, I'm mainly just sad and feel like I ruined everyone's Christmas. Am I the asshole? Added edit, I have seen a lot of comments saying that they would like to help me contribute financially towards the meal. While I find these offers extremely kind, I simply feel like this wouldn't be appropriate since I will be fine regardless of the outcome of my Christmas. Instead, I'd like to ask you to consider donating, only if you truly can, for example, to your local homeless shelters, food banks, etc., so that those who have nothing or very little could have something for the holidays. Thanks and happy holidays. In the comments, not the asshole for a couple reasons. He wants you to give up the one thing you can eat. It's not a treat, it's your meal. Why can't he just make a little less of everything instead? Make all the dishes but have less quantity. He's purposely trying to exclude you. That's cruel. OP replies, thanks for your comment. I have already counted everything so that there is just enough of everything, as none of us want anything to go to waste. We'd have to give up sides to reduce the costs. Info. Is he ideologically opposed to your dietary needs? I.e., are you a vegetarian or a vegan and he's offended on behalf of red meat? The way he's acting makes it seem like he's either really doesn't want you to enjoy yourself at all, or he's got an agenda in cutting only your dish. OP replies, no. He enjoys vegan meals very much when someone prepares them for him. The problem is that I'm also doing a similar dish as non-vegan for others, so in his mind, doing the vegan version is an unnecessary cost. Then the obvious answer is to cut to the non-vegan version of the same dish so that everyone can eat the vegan one, unless there's someone who has a soy allergy or something similar to one of the vegan substitutes. If the issue is between everyone else being able to eat everything but liking one dish out of 10 slightly less than they could have, versus one person only being able to eat 2 dishes out of 10 and neither of them are filling enough to be a meal, then that's the option that you go with. He wants you to spend a long time making a meal that you won't enjoy and is throwing a fit because you refused, and has been crap-talking you and your mother because last year she wouldn't let him do the same thing. He is such an asshole. Not the asshole. I must say that I've never heard of family charging family for a holiday meal. Your solution really is the best way, given your brother's attitude. And OP replies, "We usually do pay for it, or at least part of it when we go over and eat at his place, since he is so strict with money that he basically won't buy enough food for everyone to feel full afterwards. I guess we're kind of resigned to this after so many years, but he never offers any money in return when visiting." Do you know other families who do this? Is it a cultural or miserly issue with your brother? I admit that I had a laugh at myself for thinking, hey, I could have been profiting off my family this whole time. Just kidding, but I'll add that he is stingy and a hypocrite for charging family, but then eating their food for free. It's a whack situation in my opinion. And OP replies, "I honestly don't know for sure how it's done within other families when the kids are adults and hosting. When our parents hosted, we kids never paid. Last year, my brother and his wife paid completely, but this year my parents decided to take part in covering the costs, as my brother has just been going on and on about the costs all since summer. My mother actually got really mad at him at some point, and so them paying half is partly out of spite. But yeah, I think in our culture, it's polite to offer to pay so that the host can decline." Okay, thanks. I get it. Your brother and his wife are not stellar hosts. He probably doesn't realize that his kids are going to be charging to eat at their homes in, 10 to 20 years or so? I hope that he takes it well when the shoe's on the other foot. You have a point here. I knew a family friend, more like frenemy, who became terribly calculative with each kid the moment they turned 16, the age they could get a job, over every single cent. Guess what? 10 to 15 years later, the kids got calculative in return and went low contact with their parents, same family friend, who kept on wondering why their kids aren't bothered talking to them or inviting them out for Christmas. Not the asshole. Honestly sounds like your brother is the one stirring up drama. He chose your dish on purpose. OP replies, "I'm honestly unsure about that. I don't think he thinks of it as excluding me, but since he's not interested in eating it, he feels that it's unnecessary and doesn't seem to understand why it's such a big deal for me." And now, on to the update. For those who are interested, I have something to update on my family's Christmas and my brother. He called yesterday and wanted to come over to talk. When he got here, he started by apologizing for his part of the argument, admitting that he acted poorly. He told me that he really hadn't paid much attention to the menu since I was in charge of it, and thus, when he suggested that we cut out my side, he didn't realize I had practically nothing else to eat, and in the heat of the moment, he couldn't take that into account. He then went on to tell me something that I didn't quite expect him to. Since he isn't one to really talk about these kinds of things, I won't go into too much detail, but when I was a baby and he was young, our family went through some financial hardships. I'm too young to remember it, but it left a mark on him. He said that this was what prompted his reaction, and he was sorry for letting his anxieties get the better of him. He did reassure me that his intention wasn't to exclude me. He offered to pay for my side, and asked me if there was anything else that I wanted to have, but I told him that I was fine with this side. As there was some concern about the division of labor and my paying for my own share when theirs was included in the family budget, I brought it up and said that I'd appreciate it if they pitched in a little more labor. He agreed and said that we really should include my salary in the budget as well, so I told him that I would send him recipes and instructions and would be available for advice if they needed it. I'm still doing most of the labor, but I consider this fair and not actually labor. They will be doing the dishes later, which I despise. I also asked what made him think about his actions, and he told me that it was really hard not to come to the realization that he acted poorly when everyone he cares about was mad at him, including his wife. And on top of that, he didn't feel good about leaving things like that and not having me over for Christmas, so yeah, I don't think I cut him too much slack in the end, even if some thought so. He can be a little misguided sometimes, but he is not a bad person. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time for him to come around. There is definitely work to be done regarding him respecting other people's opinions, but I still have hope for him. I did apologize for my actions too, so don't worry about that. After all, I wasn't entirely blameless in how things unfolded. So I guess this means that we will have our family Christmas despite this hiccup. We might try to figure out a solution that's fair for all next Christmas, be it a potluck or something else. Anyway, I do hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday, and thank you again for all the comments. In the comments, that is great news. Good for you to talk it out like grown-ups. We all like to think we are perfect and do everything perfect, but we are human and make stupid mistakes. I know that I had my fair share as well. Merry Christmas to you and your family, OP. And OP replies, yes, this is very true. I think we all deserve some grace from time to time. I have been given it on multiple occasions by family, so I'm glad to give it to someone deserving as well in return. And Merry Christmas to you too. What a sweet person you are. I'm happy everything worked out. We don't see that in here often. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, many Happy New Years. Merry Christmas. Quote, he can be a little misguided sometimes, but he is not a bad person. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time for him to come around. Like an entire year when your mother had to tell him to buck up his ideas then? You're a more forgiving person than I. And OP replies, well, this is only a small snapshot into our life, and there is much more to my brother than this, and those are the reasons I want to be in his life, and I want him in mine. I make mistakes as well, and he has forgiven me for them after I tried my best to make amends. I don't see how this situation is much different, really. That doesn't really seem resolved, though. Time will tell, but that sounded like a pretty empty apology/excuse. There's a pretty good chance that history will repeat, and then you'll be the bad guy for caring when you know about his childhood anxieties. It is super easy to tell people what they want to hear and then return to the status quo. I'm happy that you're psyched about this, but it would be wise to consider how you'll implement boundaries if this continues. Change is reflected in actions, not words. Best of luck. And OP replies, you're right about that. And I would not have forgiven him if the only thing he offered was words and excuses. But he didn't, and that makes all the difference for me. Only time will tell how all of this will end, but I'm happy with how things are progressing now. But I do see what you mean, so thank you for your comment, and happy holidays to you. And our next post is titled, I was pressured into a threesome by my boyfriend and enjoyed it, but not because of him. So I, 21 female, have been with my boyfriend, 22 male, for 3 years. He's known that I was bi since we started dating and had never really said anything about it till last year, after he met my college friend, Maya. Maya is also bi and very beautiful, but while honest about her experience, isn't one to brag. When in a group playing drinking games, last year, Maya opened up about a threesome that she had before, and I guess that's when my boyfriend got the idea. I had been against it when he first brought it up, but eventually he wore me down. When I finally said yes, he immediately suggested Maya, which, looking back, was his aim from the start. When we approached Maya, she was down, and we had made plans that worked for everyone's schedule. Maya texted me separately multiple times to make sure that I was on board and comfortable. As she put, it just didn't seem my style. I told her I was on board, and that my boyfriend and I had discussed it. When the day came, she surprisingly took the lead, which I don't think my boyfriend was expecting either. I'll spare you the details, but she made sure that the focus was me and actually instructed my boyfriend on what to do. If he tried to focus on her, she would gently redirect him to me, saying things like, "Nuh-uh-uh, look how pretty your girlfriend is when you do this." She barely let him touch her without asking me, "Do you want to do ... She would praise me a lot throughout, which is something I didn't even realize I liked. She also checked on both of us through the whole thing. I honestly think it was the best me and my boyfriend ever had. After it was over, she did what she called aftercare and made us comfortable. I don't remember me or boyfriend falling asleep, but when we woke up, breakfast was made. Maya was a professional chef, so it was amazing. She had also left us a note as she had work in the afternoon and was sorry that she couldn't stay. I feel like the dynamic between my boyfriend and I has changed since, and I know we have to talk about it, but I don't even know what to say. Edit, my point is that I enjoyed sex with Maya more than I ever had with my boyfriend. I don't want to go super into detail because TMI, but Maya was mostly touching me and was focused on me. I also think my boyfriend is disappointed that he wasn't the focus. I also think that he was surprised at how much he liked being told what to do. In the comments, yeah, I feel like he had both the stereotypical idea that he'd have two women trying to focus on pleasing him, or that he really just wanted an excuse to sleep with Maya without having a guilty conscience, and it backfired, because Maya clearly was not having it. She probably gets into this position often, so she knew what to expect. If he was paying attention, and I don't know how their sex life was before, but he might have noticed that OP was enjoying herself more with Maya than him. So it could be him wanting to talk about that, because he may feel like he messed up by asking for the threesome. I kind of hope that they're both paying attention to how they felt after all this. If OP and the boyfriend are still into each other, my hope is they both learn how to be more attentive partners from this experience. Maya sounds like an effing champ. She offered a great model for considerate behavior. I'm glad your first threesome experience is good, and I'm glad that your friend took the time to guide and take care for you throughout. Question: if your boyfriend asks for another threesome, but someone else, someone more focused on him, do you think that you would agree? And OP replies, probably not. Good for you. You didn't really want the first one. Please don't feel like you owe your sulky boyfriend a do-over. Hell no. You can tell that Maya knew what was up, and his intention was to play out some Pornhub fantasy, ignoring you. He was mad he didn't get to just do whatever he wanted to your hot friend. Think about this, OP. He's upset that you got pleasure and happiness over him. That says so damn much about his intentions and character. She's 100% a real effing friend, and she saved you a lot of heartache here. Keep the friend and dump the selfish man. You're young. You have a whole life ahead of you. Get rid of dead weight that cries about not getting his fantasy at your expense. The fact that you hadn't heard about aftercare before Maya came along already shows that she might be more caring than your boyfriend. This is the part that shocked me the most. Literally everyone should be having aftercare after sex. You don't just dump a load and then leave to go F off. What the hell? And now, onto the update. This whole thing was emotionally draining, and this post blew up more than I thought. Well, he saw the post and read through the comments. When we met, he apologized and he said that he never saw himself convincing me as manipulation, as we had talked about being more adventurous in the bedroom before, and he thought that I just needed time. He told me that he did enjoy it a lot, but it wasn't what he imagined it would be, and was feeling insecure because I had been so responsive to Maya. It wasn't until after it was over that he started feeling inadequate as a partner. I'll admit that I was a little heated because I told him for the past year something like this would happen, and that three-ways, especially ones not talked about in depth and hard boundaries set, this happens. I was willing to work through this if he was willing to work on his insecurity, but then he asked me to drop Maya. I absolutely refused. Maya is one of the few friends I have in this city, and we were very close even before all this. I explained to him that distancing himself from Maya would not fix his insecurities. We went back and forth for a while before he tried to give me an "it's me or her" speech. I just left him there. I'm hurt and angry with myself that it even got to this point. Like, how in the hell did I get here? And I know that you guys made sure to point out all the red flags, but he was my first serious boyfriend. 3 years are hard to see past, I guess. I called Maya after I got home and explained everything. She tried to apologize, explaining that she had had a small thing for me when we first met, but grew into more just a friendship. When me and my now ex-boyfriend approached her, she was excited to, in her words, screw it out of her system. She apologized again, saying she didn't want for us to break up or for this situation to be more than it was, but I reassured her none of this is her fault. She said she would support me as a friend or give me space or whatever I wanted, if that's what I needed, and I really appreciate it. For all of you guys hoping that I'd end up with Maya, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I think I'll stay single for a long time to figure out my feelings. I do like Maya as a friend, and maybe more, but if I were to ever pursue things, I'd want to be sure that I'm 100% genuine and not just filling a void or falling for an idea of a person. I have a therapist already, and I guess this is going to be something that I'm unpacking, so I can set better boundaries in the future for any future partners. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.